whispering therapy that they had. So he would whisper to her, you know, you're beautiful, you're powerful, and she would whisper to him, well, you're macho and you're my man. And, you know, you're thinking, gosh, if it's really got to this stage, I can't see how it's going to work.
I wanted to pause. Things were not good. Personalities had clashed, egos had been bruised, therapies had been tried, so they did what any normal couple would do when they're not getting on well. They adopted a third world baby.
My initial thoughts were, you know, why is she doing this?
Since the ban on duty-free, celebrities have taken to shopping for orphans on holiday instead.
It was just becoming one of those fads that we were all kind of thinking, God, you know, it was becoming a bit ridiculous.
Madonna had gone to Malawi and adopted 18-month-old David Kumba. She was accused of jumping the adoption queue. She appeared on flagship current affairs programme Newsnight, yes, that's Newsnight, coolly defending herself against the toughest of questions.
I suppose what I'm driving at here about that is you can see that some people might say quite crudely, you know, Madonna said, I want that one. You know, she sees the footage and says, I want that one.
Well, people could say that, and they could criticize me for that, but there are no legal adoption laws in Malawi. There are only tribal customs. It's a very kind of ambiguous process.
Unusual setting for Newsnight. It'll have been Kirsty Walk who insisted on the white muslin, candelabras and scattered petals.
I think when she had the tremendous backlash in the media for how quickly she seemed to be able to rush this adoption through was very much an I told you so moment for her husband, who had been wary and a bit skeptical of this whole idea.
I wouldn't like to speak for Guy, but if it was me and I'd entered into this Hollywood world and then Madonna started doing embarrassing things like going to Africa and adopting orphans, you know, and you know, you've got to remember that he's essentially a geezer, or he likes to think he is. You've got to look at things like that and think, what the hell have I got myself into?
I think early on, I think he probably was a little bit more reluctant. It's a massive thing. You know, Guy's a normal average bloke. If you met him in the pub, you know, you'd realise that fairly quickly, and the idea of adopting a kid from Malawi would seem strange to him, I think. But, you know, once he got into the idea, I think he really bought into it, and he loves that kid, no question about it.
But even the speedy arrival of baby David could not save the marriage.
Many couples try to, you know, have another child to save a broken union. It didn't work for these two either.
It wasn't long before there were open signs of problems. At the 2006 Brits, her acceptance speech gave her the opportunity to thank all those who had supported her and were important to her.
I have so many brilliant British artists to thank for inspiration. I would also like to thank all the brilliant British producers that I've worked with over the years. And of course, Warner Brothers Records. I'm well aware that without that support I wouldn't be the success that I am.
Haven't you forgotten someone?
And last, but certainly not least...
Oh, here we go.
I would like to thank all of my British fans.
Oh dear. The marriage appeared to be on its last legs.
There was a lot of time that this couple spent apart. Even when they could have spent it together, they still didn't seem to be rushing back to see each other. Madonna had been away from her husband for, 8 to 10 weeks. She gets back to London and she goes out to dinner with Gwyneth Paltrow, and they're photographed coming out of Nobu, just the two of them. Those kinds of things are not about innuendo or gossip. That's what happened.
When Madonna was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he was nowhere to be seen. And even when they got together, parading in front of the eyes of millions on the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival, the cracks were showing.
There was definitely an obvious kind of lack of affection in their chemistry at Cannes. Anyone who saw them, I saw them on the red carpet at the Palais and also at a private party. They seemed to like they could barely be in the same room. They did not interact during the evening I saw them. They were sitting at dinner. They like never spoke. And when they did, it was with a lot of, looks of disdain or disgust. There was no warmth in that.
There was an extraordinary shot of her and him sitting at the table together, and they look like they've just been mid-row, and they are both looking daggers at each other. She's got a face like a slapped arse, and you just think, oh, Christ, God, what went on there?
He looked uncomfortable, he looked distant. I watched the body chemistry between the two of them at the table. They didn't exchange a word, and it just became very apparent to me that there was no love there anymore. The passion had gone.
Well, not quite gone, but timetabled anyway. Guy was reported not to be happy that their sex life was scheduled around her gym sessions every other Wednesday and Saturdays, apparently.
Madonna does live on a schedule, absolutely, and I can't imagine that part changed much. And she sticks to her routine. It does become a necessity to schedule time with each other, and not to mention the fact that if he's on a set somewhere shooting, then, you know, they're not together.
Rumours began to circulate that Madonna was more interested in getting together with A-Rod. Must have needed a pipe servicing or something. Oh, he's a baseball player, apparently.
Wouldn't you know it, it just started to appear in the papers that Madonna was spending some special time with Alex Rodriguez, who's a sportsman out there, and basically the equivalent of David Beckham in Europe. So I think all of us were thinking, well, has Madonna moved on? Has she found, you know, this new kind of Latino-style guy? You know, it was right up her street. He looked pretty much, you know, down the same vein as what Carlos Leon was, who she dated before Guy. So I think everyone was left thinking, is this the new man in Madonna's life? She insists that he's not. He's nicknamed A-Rod. Whether she's taken A-Rod or not is another thing.
We'll do the bad jokes, thank you.
Guy was apparently furious that Madonna was out on dinner dates with Rodriguez. However innocent they may have been, the fact that they were going through such a crucial time in terms of fixing their own relationship, that she should then be seen out with another man, was just, on whatever level, platonic or not, it was unacceptable for him.
Rocco Ritchie, Guy's son, was photographed wearing a New York Yankees t-shirt.
Guess who plays for the Yankees? Reportedly, Guy was none too pleased that Rocco was dressed in the shirt.
It was really kind of mean and cruel, and I think no matter what else we know or don't know about the dynamic between these two, it was a cheap shot.
And as if they needed any more strife, she started treading on his professional toes.
I saw an interview that she had done. In the course of the interview, she said, "I've decided not to be an actress anymore," which I thought was kind of funny. I want to be a director now.
I've been wanting to make a film for years, and I just decided to stop moaning about it and do it. Yeah.
Two directors in the family, it's the kiss of death, you know? Way too much competition going on.
On October the 15th, 2008, after months of speculation, the world woke up to the news that we'd all been dreading. Madonna and Guy Ritchie were to divorce. Sorry. Those closest to her were full of sympathy and kind words.
I can't say that I was that surprised because of their creative ambition, because of their personal egos. I mean, there are bound to be problems.
It was getting to the point where everybody knew it wasn't right. You know, you could tell when they were in public together, they weren't happy. And I think they just had to make the decision to come out in public and say it was over.
I felt very sad for her, despite my feelings for Guy. It's not something that I would wish on them, nor ever wished on them.
She really wanted to control the way the news was going to be released.
Madonna wanted the divorce to be announced after the world tour. She had a lot going on, and anybody who knows the way Madonna operates, she's a complete control freak.
The tour doesn't finish until January, but the news leaked out.
I think the rug was pulled from under her feet slightly, and she didn't expect this to happen. I mean, that's our job, you know, to break those stories, and I think she was pretty upset by the story coming out when it did.
This wasn't the plan. Madonna wasn't getting her way.
Marrying Madonna is one thing, divorcing her is something else altogether, you know.
I think there were good intentions on both sides for the divorce to be, you know, on good terms. And I think very quickly it turned acrimonious.
What would you do in that situation? You lash out, which is what she did on stage.
The very same night, Madonna took to the stage in Boston, and the announcement clearly had an effect on her performance. In a by no means childish and spoilt way at all, she had a pop at Guy.
It just shows how bitchy she can be.
That was a below-the-belt move, you know, she shouldn't have done that.
He really thought, well, I've got to save face here. I'm not going to have my ass spanked by Madonna anymore. The minute she did that, I think the gloves were